I'm
sorry.
Just so.
It was one that was written, and I added, there's handwriting added to that, so that's how it is.
When was that? When, in all honesty, really, when was that written?
I don't know.
Written?
Today?
It wasn't today. It wasn't during this meeting.
I mean, because
No, it was not during this meeting.
No, it
Wasn't during the
Obviously
meeting,
not.
he did it, and I had him add handwriting to it to put in
Well, why would
the
you
other
give this
wording.
out to why would you give this out to
We
the
can't have discussion back and
this has to
Whatever.
forth.
stop.
Okay? I have.
We're making a change. You got
Can I,
Mario?
can I,
Okay, yeah, we're trying to pull the wool over your eyes.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
I want to make clear what I want to accomplish
I think
with
I'll
this
vote for the
resolution.
library building tonight.
What I want to accomplish with this resolution is to make sure that the folks who, is that every member of this board,
Seriously.
first of all, that this board make clear that this is a multi-step process. And one of the steps we're taking here is to get more information about the possibilities. There are members of this board who don't feel that there's adequate information. There are members of this board who think that the information we have isn't necessarily accurate. This is an opportunity in the next 2 months to try to refine that information.
Okay.
In the event that Mr. Gentili reports back to us that May 5th, 2014 is not something that he can do, then that's something we're going to have to deal with as a board. But just an open-ended resolution saying, let's keep thinking about this and get some study and report back when we get it is not acceptable to me, because I think time is of the essence. I think time is of the essence for our 200 township employees and 100 members of the police department and the very dedicated members of the library staff to try to fix their problems and fix them quickly.
Okay. I have a few questions. I'm just baffled right now. I was just handed this piece of paper with language added to it that's written on the side. This was obviously done prior to this meeting, the language, because it's in, now we took all this time. This is, I guess I'm a little perplexed here at what's going on, because we have taken this time to include the public in this
Yes.
in this whole process, and then we put this out there. We put the original resolution out there. Then we put in the alternate resolution so everybody could see it, process it, and come to this meeting and give us their input, which some did. And then out of somebody's pocket comes this, and we're putting. Like, why wasn't this given to us so we could have put it on the website so people could see it and then make comment on it? We're just now
Is there
coming
any
up with
different than
this.
Jimmy's?
Yeah, how
Jimmy's was on the
agenda.
agenda.
Not the one he read tonight, wasn't?
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
It was on,
was-
it's on
it
the
was.
agenda. It's number 11.
Look,
I think we should just table this, Mario, and come back next month
no
then.
reason to table this. This is not an ordinance. This is a resolution.
There
This
certainly
board
is.
needs to
Hold
do-
on a second. I have the floor. I was speaking, okay?
I thought you were done.
No, I'm not done. I really have a problem with doing stuff this way. We have gone out of our way as a board to make things. So this is a big deal, and I wanted people to have the time to look over the stuff, process it, and to be handed this. I'm beside myself. I don't know what.
What don't you know?
Yeah,
It's up to the board.
it's up to the Board of Commissioners.
Yeah,
I can't, as
it's a
one
resolution. We can
commissioner,
do oral
I would ask-
But I
resolutions.
just
We
think
do it all
that,
the time.
with people coming in here and saying to us, that this is, we're backdooring things, this looks to me like we're backdooring things. Like, this resolution was put together prior
way
to.
before tonight,
Before
way before
tonight.
tonight.
What's,
You
Yeah,
don't, but I mean,
okay.
if you don't like it, you don't have to vote for it.
okay.
Well, I make
But
a
can't
motion
speak
The
to-
my
right thing to
mind.
do, the right thing
I
to do is
will.
what Mario is saying. I mean, you just can't pull something out of your pocket
My-
and then
no,
put
hold
it
on a
out and
second.
blindside
But I
the
mean,
public. That's
we're
like
not talking about-
no
we're talking about an
taxation without
ordinance. We're not
representation.
talking-
That's exactly what it's like.
Taxation without
Yeah,
representation.
we represent the people. That's supposed to be
Yeah.
out there so that
This
they
is-
can
that's
look
okay
at
with
it.
the board. Every resolution we
Not
pass,
pulling it out of your
every
pocket.
thing
All
we
right.
do,
That's
Okay.
pulling out of your pocket.
everything we do on this board,
But not that.
we can
I
revise.
agree with your right to
Excuse
do
me,
that.
Steve.
I agree with that. I don't mind you putting that resolution.
Steve, can
I
revise
agree
the
with
resolution
it.
anytime.
But not
Please.
now.
Please.
When?
We need to
I'm,
discuss.
Do
I'm
it
here.
and
I'm
put it
listening,
on.
I'm
Put it on
listening,
next-
I'm
the
listening
next
to
meeting.
my colleagues on this board, almost all of whom are saying, I'm not against building the library. I don't have enough information. The only resolution I have in front of me that addresses doing that is a resolution that says the property committee did this wrong. It puts no time limit on what we're going to do. I'm not going to okay that resolution. My job is to come up with alternatives here to try to get people
Yes,
to
but the
to make
alternative was supposed to
progress.
be through our discussion.
And that's
as
our discussion. That came out of our discussion.
This did not come out of a discussion. This was pre-done before our discussion.
It just so happens that's where our discussion ended up, Mr.
So it was done ahead of time.
Do members of this board think there should be no time limit on when it is we should say
Absolutely
the township
not.
should come back to us? So
Absolutely
there's a
not.
time limit.
No.
You don't like it,
Absolutely
let's
not.
change the time limit.
I don't disagree with
So
us
if
putting
we
a time
change-
limit on it, but I disagree with.
So what if we changed Mr. McGarrity's resolution tonight to put a time limit in?
No.
We didn't tell anybody that before the meeting?
But nobody's
We didn't
saying
put
that.
to
I'm saying
anybody?
no, we don't change
No,
it.
There's a
I'm saying that we
resolution that
put
puts a
together a
time.
resolution.
But then table it.
And I got a resolution here
Put a
that goes out of
resolution
its way to rip
together.
the property committee.
Excuse me, let me finish. We put a
One
resolution
of us had the
together. We
floor.
put that resolution that we have discussed here, we put that on the website to give people time to look at it and then come to the next commissioners' meeting. I don't have a problem with making it May 5th, but allow people at the April meeting to discuss the resolution, which they haven't even seen yet. That's what I want to do.
This
That's
is a
what I'm saying
resolution
to
of
you.
what
I don't
our
have a
board
problem
needs
with
to do.
any resolution,
I don't.
but the discussion should have taken place here tonight,
The
and
discussion's
then
taking
we would.
place.
We were.
I'm
the
putting
discuss-
this resolution in front of everybody for their consideration.
public
and their
hasn't
discussion.
That's not the resolution I added on to.
Turn down resolutions
but I wouldn't
before
pass the
saying we did it the
resolution.
last hour, and you put one up.
And we've passed a dozen resolutions here
I
at the
would be
last
in
minute.
favor.
No, we've stopped doing
I'd
that.
be in favor of putting this
Stop doing
resolution on our next agenda
Too.
for discussion on the work session.
Agreed.
And for the public to be able to look at it and for the public to be able to speak at it. I have no problem with this resolution the way it is. I just don't want it backdoored in.
Thank you.
What's different about what's different about 1929? I want to know what's different about 1929.
Session is the date on it.
Okay, we'll do.
Tell me what's different about
I'm not okay.
1929.
I'm okay with putting whatever date you want to put the June work session, May work session. I'm okay with. Let's let it go to the public. Let the public look at it on the website. Let them
Board.
comment here.
Are 5 people on this board willing to tell the township commissioner we want this done by May 5? I mean, we wait till April, nothing's going to happen by May 5. I mean, this board can act on any aspect of these
This board,
resolutions.
if you
right
give
now.
the opportunity, if
And
we
it
put this
should
out
act.
on the, if you put this out on the website, I would be satisfied with
I
putting
can't
this
put it
out
out
on
on the website.
Putting this resolution that just came up tonight. Just came up
Larry,
tonight.
put it out, we'll do it.
And we'll
But
do it.
actually, I mean, we don't have to. If you
at
put
the
the May
April meeting-
5th, if you put the May 5th, 2014 date into Jimmy's, into 1929, I'll sign that.
Right.
I have no problem with
Same
that.
thing.
Right.
It's the same thing. I just don't like the language that says the property committee screwed this up and the property committee screwed that
I don't have
up.
any problem with this resolution, but let's put it out to the public
That-
first.
no need. Just put May 5th, 2014 into
I
1929.
don't
It's like my
want that
vote.
on.
Well-
I don't agree with some of the things in that one either. I think that your resolution is
Well, that's
fine.
But if you don't agree with them, what were you going to do
Wait.
about them tonight? Just say we
wait.
can't do any of
Okay.
them?
Oh, I was
Wait.
hoping that we would discuss resolution, put
Okay.
a resolution
Together?
like,
Hold on.
like Jane Hall was saying, to put the
Could I
resolution
make a
together, then
suggestion?
put it out to the public. Go ahead.
They're one
Okay.
together right now?
I would
But-
move.
But we have to put it out to the public. Go ahead. There's already 2 motions on the floor.
Right. I would move to amend Commissioner McGarrity's motion to include the fact that the study should be presented at the May 4 Commissioners' meeting. That would be the only amendment, so that there would be...
May 4 or May 5?
May 5, I'm sorry.
day it is.
Whatever day, May 5, 2014, Commissioners' work session.
What about taking out the
Well,
language that a lot of us
I'm
find
offended by the language, but I don't think the language has any real significance, so I'm willing to sort of bite my tongue and vote for something that's somewhat critical, but...
Would you be okay with that?
No, I don't accept that amendment.
Okay.
Why? Because why should Dan Siegel or Larry Holmes set the date? Why can't 9 of us set the date?
Well, that's
Come on
why
now.
there's
You
a
vote
motion.
on
Five of us.
it. You would vote on it.
I didn't know that I was doing
day?
this unilaterally.
October.
That's
No, that's not going to happen. Then let's vote on the new library tonight.
No,
and
no, no, no,
we'll-
no,
We'll
let's
put it
not
down
do
there at the
that.
new spot then,
How about,
you know?
how about,
then.
how about we say June? Is everybody okay with June?
Well,
Okay with Jim.
You okay with June? Are you okay
why
with
is
June?
putting a date
June work session.
So it would be
Why,
What's this, March?
could we
April,
just,
May,
I'm
June,
sorry,
2 months.
I'm sorry, could we just, thank you, I don't mean to. Why don't we just take 5 minutes and talk about the schedule? Because instead of just throwing dates out there,
Okay.
why don't we just talk about it a little bit and try to figure out what actually can happen? And maybe, I hate to put you on the spot, Lori, but I know it's late, and I'm sorry, but what do you think is I mean,
Daylight savings time.
9:35.
what kind of schedule, you know, instead of pulling things out of the sky, what would you, if, I'm asking you?
I guess the first thing is that we would need to try and determine what professional we're going to hire and start meeting with that professional
Right.
to try and outline what it is that the board's looking for. You want multiple proposals, you want some kind of a sketch, you want a parking analysis based on a concept, not on a specific design, and you want cost proposals based on a concept, not on a specific design.
Correct.
So everything's going to be pretty generic.
Right.
But it's going to make that design, that professional a little bit nervous to be throwing these things out there.
Okay.
And I wouldn't blame them for being nervous. So I would say it's going to be impossible to do it for the May work session. It may even be impossible to do that order of magnitude for the requests that were discussed this evening for the June work session.
But June is a reasonable aspiration.
We can aim for June.
So Lori, let me ask you, while we're standing here, and I'm looking at 1929, I apologize. I wasn't born that year, but 1929. Okay, I'm just going to read this aloud so that we can kind of wrap our heads around it. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Haverford hereby directs the Township Manager and his staff to commission a new and complete feasibility study. Do you feel we need that?
I believe that we've done a partial feasibility
have.
study. I think that the board's seen a feasibility study for municipal services building with the police department and township administration, and a second feasibility study for municipal services with township administration and a library. I think that you're now looking to break out some other combinations.
Okay, so
Library at another site. Is that right?
That's the other combination.
that was the other combination. I'm not sure if we need that at this juncture, but let me continue. By a qualified architect, engineer, planner, AEP firm, comma, to address alternate design program possibilities, comma, such as a combined police municipal library building, comma, a single police building and a renovated library administration building. Okay, so now we've got three things going here. We've got a police municipal library, we've got a single police building, and a renovated library administration building. Okay, so I guess we're talking about renovating the library and renovating the administration building. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes.
That's how I
Okay.
read it.
Should probably be an S, buildings.
And Bill,
Library
right,
administration
that should be,
Have the Casaccio study.
right. So we have the Casaccio study for the library renovation, and that is an extensive study that was commissioned by the library board, and it is new. It is new. Okay, so library administration buildings, plural, a combined police and library building, and other alternatives. I think we've got it, in terms of time, and this is just my opinion, the board can vote. I think other alternatives at this juncture is too broad. Do you agree?
It's fairly broad.
There is one question worth asking a professional on this. What is the difference, what are the savings of building a library as part of two other buildings as opposed to a standalone? Ignoring what it would cost to buy the land or the property where the library has to go. What are the savings of combining the buildings as opposed to building a freestanding one?
So you're going to ask that design professional to try and calculate the construction savings for a combined facility as
That-
opposed to breaking out the library?
Yeah,
Or as
even
opposed-
if they, for purposes of this study, built a library right next to the municipal township and administration building.
Okay.
But just told us what the difference of building a freestanding brand-new library, and then we know what the cost of renovating the library is, and what the marginal cost of adding a library to the municipal administration and police building. I mean, I think that is a comparison that will be informative to us. I mean, if there's no difference, then any things that militate against having a library combined to anything, obviously isn't as important. But if there's significant savings or economies of scale by building a 3-in-1 building as opposed to a 2-in-1 building and a separate building, to the extent that this professional can give us some kind of calculation on that, no matter how general, no matter how many contingencies they cook into it, I think that's good info to have.
Understood.
And are we, I mean, is everybody in agreement that Casaccio use numbers, or we don't want to have anyone else
No, I think you should have a couple others.
look at those numbers? Are those numbers?
Let's start
Have a
now.
couple, that's competitive bidding.
Well, I want
Again, I'm throwing it out there just for discussion.
Hold on,
I'm
let's
not
let-
trying to say that we should do that. What I'm trying to say is, are Casaccio's numbers, I know that Dan was saying earlier, one architect may look at something and see something, like up at the reserve, as he said. When we had people bid on the reserve, where the parking lot is where they were looking to build the building. So if they built that building on that parking lot, there would be no parking. So then we'd lose a softball field. And so what happened was with the architect that we went with, he put it into the side of the mountain, which is there, and onto an existing wall, which saved us money. And is Casaccio, do we have somebody else looking at this, or even our township engineer going through it and saying, okay, this is what the library needs, these are the needs of the library, how much is that going to be?
Well, I think what Lee Casaccio did was the program for the library. So what he did was he looked at what the personnel was, and what the needs were, and looked at what spatial allocation would be made. Okay. We did the same thing for the township building and the police department, and then we had those numbers updated when we did the feasibility studies when we went to, originally Gary did the first round, and then Chris Gauman revisited the program
Right.
for the police department and the township building. So I think what we could do is maybe have, I don't know, Chris maybe go back. I'm not sure how comfortable these professionals are going to be at reviewing someone else's work, or unless maybe we have them just sort of sit down and start anew and come up with their own ideas about what the library needs. You're talking about reinventing the wheel.
Okay, so you're saying that the library has been invented, obviously, so we don't want to go back. It would be a waste of time to go back.
Right,
Is that what you're thinking, that Casaccio, that there's no need for us to commission someone separate, or do you think that we need to have somebody else look at it to give us a better?
I think that we need to be comfortable with it, and I think that when we met with the folks from the library, they indicated that maybe the numbers were a little, like, that when they had done the program, they expressed if they got everything on their wish list, this is what we would have. And so you have to be careful about wish list and go back and revisit and refine. But I think that if you did another program and everybody was giving the wish list, you get the same thing. Then you do the reality check, you know? And so there was
So is there a reality check out there, or should we be performing that reality check, and then so we could actually compare apples to apples rather than
I can ask a professional whether or not they can revisit the Casaccio study and see if there's a level of comfort, or whether we need to do a new study. I think that when that professional meets with the folks from the library, if they're not in the business of operating a library, they won't always know what is wish list, you know, and what are the actual needs of the library to continue operating for the next 20
I
years.
see your hand up, I can't let you talk, okay? I'm sorry.
But,
What's that?
but
Go ahead.
So I think my first task is to make sure I understand what the outline task is, and then call a couple of design folks and speak to them about some costs to get these studies done, and the time frame. And then when I just get that basic information, I can report back to the manager, and he can touch base with the board, and we can go from there.
So do you think that June is a good timeline, or should it be July? Should it be, what?
No.
You think June would be okay?
I think that it's a good target.
It's a good target. So you feel comfortable with June?
Yeah.
Okay.
Target.
You feel comfortable with June? Are you okay with June?
Yeah, I mean, I prefer May. I'm not comfortable with nothing. So, I mean, if
let's do-
June has 5 votes, I'm June.
Mr. President?
Is that your name now?
Yeah.
Mr. President, I just, the last paragraph, Lori, if I may read it to you, because I think it's a little broad. The study shall include for each alternate general program area summaries for each component. You know, I mean, it's concise yet broad. Site utilization design, plan sketches, approximate parking analysis and layouts, general financial costs and considerations, and general traffic issues and recommended strategies. I ask you, can we define that better, or do you feel comfortable with that? And I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but you're really good at this.
I think that it's too soon to get into some of those. I think that we're not going to have enough detail for the specificity that's being requested in the task. And I think that you can't analyze what the traffic impacts are going to be until you do a more detailed traffic study. I think that you have to go out and physically review the physical plant location and the infrastructure surrounding it before you can determine what impacts there might be and what potential off-site traffic improvement costs might be associated with that.
But I think it's really important that the traffic is going to be one of the big issues there, and that we have some sort of informal study done.
It's hard.
Prior to this thing, because I don't know if any of you have picked up your children, and at the middle school, I pick up my daughter there, and I come down Darby Road every day, and I sit in a queue 30 deep, and people are trying to come out of Wawa, and we have to have a real idea of what that is, because people aren't going to be able to get out of the library if that is where it's supposed to be. We have to have an idea of how people are going to get out there, what we're going to do, and
the traffic study would actually take into various times of the day and
right, exactly.
weeks,
Yeah, but also be aware, the library, the township building, and the police department, with the exception of shift changes, do not have any set time where traffic dumps out or dumps in. You know what I mean? The library is visits all day. It has programs that go here and there, but you're not going to, when you talk about what you go through in picking up your daughter at the middle school, it's picking up your daughter at the middle school, when every single school in Haverford Township is getting out within 10 minutes before and 10 minutes after that time. So that, no matter, even if we had a funeral home at the corner of Darby and Manoa, you're going to be dealing with the traffic at between 2:30 and 4 o'clock every single day.
I do understand what you're saying, but you have people using that. If I'm coming from the middle school, and now instead of just my daughter walking over to the library, now I'm going to have to drive her down, because I go home that way, so I'm not gonna be a bad father and not drive her home. It's my beautiful daughter. I would go down and I'd go into the library. So there is people coming in and out of there. There's going to be more traffic.
You could set a great example by letting her walk to the new library.
Let me tell you, I'm sorry. You said I really have a problem with something you said before, and that is walking to the library when there isn't 20 feet of snow and sidewalks are blocked and all that. My children walk down Washington, through Bailey Park, back through Princeton, and they come up, a couple blocks up, and we walk to the library or ride our bikes to the library.
People will
So
walk.
a lot of people do that.
That's why we have trails.
You can't do what the library does. Okay, the library is taking care. How many people a year? You can speak.
234,000 visits in 13.
And you're doing it with 17 parking spaces now. You have that kind of volume with 17 parking spaces. Somebody's walking to that library, okay? Somebody is finding an alternative way to get to the library, because with 17 parking spots over that period of time, there's no way that you can take care of those people. So there is some of that going on. And don't get me wrong, we need to do something about the parking. I'm not against that, but I'm just saying a lot of people are walking to the library, so.
And it's not just those buildings, it's also the field that's there and the stadium that's there, and they all enter into it different times of the day too. So,
I just want us to, when we're making a decision based on, okay, we know there's going to be increased, and a lot of times our fears are, with a traffic study from a professional, you say, well, like Larry said, they're letting out at different times, so it's not really going to have an effect. Or, at least we know what we're getting ourselves into. And I think the traffic is very important.
I agree. I think that the last paragraph is saying this study shall include for alternate general program area summaries. I mean, when you say that, it's very broad. Alternate.
Well, Jane, I'm confused.
Okay.
We looked in the property committee. We got 2 feasibility studies back.
We did.
They did address parking, and
They did.
They went to the point, and they detailed what would have to be done in the land development process. Which intersections would have to be evaluated.
Right.
Which streets would have to be considered winding, turning cues, and through there. That's kind of the stuff. The specifics is where we go in land development.
Right, but
the
what I'm
feasibility. I mean, we've already paid for 2.
We've already paid for that. I agree. I just think when you put in for each alternate, I don't know what they're talking about, alternate buildings. Where? That's what I mean. Are you talking about, am I confused, or is that
No,
too
I think
broad?
it's exactly what Larry was talking about with what if you were talking about putting a separate library
in that same
in
spot.
that same thing. You have
That I can go with, but
alternate buildings.
I don't want to leave it open to
just everything.
I'm not going to be able to give you a traffic impact study for an unidentified
That's what I mean.
alternate site.
That's what I'm saying, Bill.
It's not
And Commissioner
Gotta get feasibility.
Wexler.
But I think what people want to know in this traffic study is if we put all 3 together at that location, what's the traffic impact? And that is what we need to know before we make a decision.
Well,
Right, and
we
to make this easier, the only alternative library site I want us to consider, since we're only considering it for purposes of what's the marginal difference between building a standalone library and building a library as integrated into a municipal and a police building, is assume it's on site and just next to it.
Yeah, we have no other alternatives.
Well, we've actually sort of touched base
Right, so you don't have to worry
early
about
on
traffic
with-
or anything like that
Right.
with
It's already
regard to the
been
standalone
partly
library because
addressed.
it's in there.
Right, exactly. If you're
All I
going
want
to
to
have
know
the
is what's the
same,
difference between building a new building with walls and its own stuff compared to the shared stuff it's going to do with the other buildings.
Well, I'll circle back with Mike Schneider from Pinoni, who
Because we already did parts of that.
consulted with on the parking and.
All right, if we can do that, and we understand that that last paragraph is as appropriate. This board says the study shall include as appropriate.
Okay.
General program area summaries, et cetera. And we're talking about with the presentation at the June work session. Then I certainly support 1929 as revised that way.
Okay.
who seconded it?
Just, can I?
I'm confused.
There's a motion to amend 1929 then?
Yeah, we'd like to amend
Okay.
1929 to include.
This study
a-
shall include
be
as
presented at the
appropriate.
June, what day? June 2nd, 2014 work session. And then in the last paragraph, which says this study shall include, it should include as appropriate.
So they're seeking to make 2
Who seconded Jimmy's?
amendments.
I think it was Connell.
As appropriate,
Jane.
I think it was
Jane.
Bill Wexler.
at June
Bill
2nd. And that's the June.
I second Dave.
Okay.
I just want you to know if that's what they're doing.
I mean, that's the other thing you can do.
Get it going.
Okay, you're good? Okay, Bill's good with the second?
Yeah, but did Jimmy, it's okay the date?
Will he accept that?
Are you okay with
It's
June?
his.
Yeah.
Jimmy's okay with June. Okay?
I just have one question.
Yeah.
To make sure, when you're saying that you're directing the township manager and the staff to commission, you're authorizing me to exceed my allotment of $18,500 to hire the necessary personnel, correct?
If that's what it takes, yes.
I wanted to make sure that got out of the record.
So then we have the amended Resolution 1925 as amended by Commissioner Holmes, still on the table. And now we have amended, seconded, and approved by Commissioner McGarity, 1929.
Okay,
I
so
think
we have
need
the
to take action on both.
1929
Okay.
amended is what we are voting on.
I will withdraw 1925.
Okay, so 1925 is now off the table.
Yes.
What we have is an amended 1929, which is okay with
And-
Commissioner McGarity.
Yeah, and can we be clear? Our township manager has asked, and this board understands, that by resolving to direct him and his staff to commission a new and complete feasibility study that includes whatever expenses are necessary, it is within the context of hiring professional services and therefore need not be bid, and he has our approval to spend that money.
Okay.
And number two, we are including the date of the June 2nd, 2014 meeting is when we're going to propose, is when this is going to be presented to us.
The work session, yes.
And the last paragraph includes as appropriate. The study shall include as appropriate.
Correct.
Each alternate.
Could I just ask if we could change two other things in 1929? Can we take out the two whereases that are, that I think take shots at the property committee, who I think did a hell of a job trying to work this thing out? I don't think they were called for.
It's here.
Yeah.
This is the one you were.
No, is that?
We're using Jimmy's.
No,
Oh,
no,
you're
we're using
using
Jimmy's.
Jimmy's?
We're using
Yeah.
Jimmy's. So what I'm saying is,
Just Jimmy's with the
I'd
date
like
in.
to ask if they can be pulled out, because I think it's ridiculous, the amount of time that they put into it, that they have to have shots taken at them.
Those two whereases. Are you okay with taking those out?
Okay.
They don't.
Let me make sure, Commissioner McGarity, they're asking whether you're okay with
I mean,
amending resolution.
there's no reason for them to be there other than to take shots at people who worked hard on something and.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, man. I
Thank
think, Jesus, you guys got me going nuts here.
All right, take it out.
Okay, so we are amending that,
Yes.
and
Okay.
now we're going to vote.
Okay.
Well, the second is
the
accepting the
second
amendment.
has to-
He accepts. Okay, so everything
Okay.
is good. Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio,
Yes.
Mrs. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Siegel,
Yes.
Mr. Holmes,
Yes.
Mr. McGarity,
Yes.
Mr. Connell,
Yes.
Mr. Wexler,
Oh, thank you.
Mr. Heinlein,
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
That was easy.
Can we just do that?
Just like birthing a baby.
We will be posting.
Can we go home?
I know I'm the only one who's had a baby on this committee, but let me tell you, it's a lot harder than that was.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you for that. This will be posted, the revised version of the motion or the resolution will be posted on our website tomorrow?
No, not tomorrow.
No, it's gotta be
It won't
tweaked.
be tomorrow. It's going to probably be Wednesday or Thursday.
Wednesday or Thursday.
All right, can you email me that, please?
We will
We have
email
it emailed
it
to me?
to all the commissioners.
new
It'll be
resolution?
emailed to.
We need to get, I gotta.
Whenever
get
it's
the-
ready.
Yeah, I want to make sure the board knows. Our secretary has to listen to this tape to make sure she's got the
Wait,
proper
wait,
words.
please allow.
Go ahead, Larry, you have the floor.
If Kelly will get it to me. Once Kelly gets the correct terminology, she'll get it to me, and then I'll make sure that Mr. Oliva looks at it, and then it'll go on to the webpage. But the earliest it's going to be is Wednesday afternoon. It definitely will not be tomorrow.
No, 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 no.
You'll email it,
There until,
Larry? You'll
Until
email
we-
it to me, please?
No, yeah.
Sure?
okay. That being said,
You're a funny guy.
Citizens forum for non-agenda items?
Citizens
hold
Forum?
on.
Oh, citizen, right, we still have a
Now let's
meeting.
say anybody in the audience, man.
Have a citizen.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your patience.
All right.
Okay, so now we're moving on.
Okay.
It's a good thing we took care of all the business ahead of time.
Yeah.
Continuation of the citizens forum for non-agenda items. Anybody who would like to speak? Would you like to speak? I see your hand up.
Yeah.
You can talk about whatever you want. You have 3 minutes. You can talk about whatever you want.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. First, I'd like to say a little bit about
So I'm sorry, can you give us your name and your address?
Brad Toll. I'm a Haverford Town resident of 126 Strathmore Road. First, a little bit about the area where you want to put the library at the police station. I have made a comment to the township. It's a little bit dirty, and I agree with you with the dumpsters, and I think that's because we have the dumpsters there, and we also have that skateboard area. You add in the field and everything, there's a lot of congestion and a lot of children. I think it's a great idea that you've come to the conclusion that you need a little more study, about the parking and the traffic and the driving there, so I want to commend you for that. You did mention about the electricity being all in one location. I will tell you that in the township, when lightning strikes and it blows out a transformer, it's nice to have everything dispersed. You really don't have a good idea having all the electric in one. It can shut down everything, and having it dispersed is the safer way to go. As far as you had spoken about things you've talked about your, I believe, bond investors and people that specify whether your bonds are a good idea or a bad idea, I just want to remind everybody that we've had a little bit of problems with bond evaluation in the United States. Just take a little look at what happened at Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. As far as about the township and having the problems at the parking on Eagle Road, where we now have the former dump and now the new Y, I think learning what has happened before in the past with parking, what you see, what's presented to you originally, and what really happens are two different things. So you really need to be very careful. So I don't want it to be like Ben-Hur in the movies when Charlton Heston asked the director, he was a little worried about the race the next day, and the director said, "Don't worry, the fix is in." I really don't want it to happen. And I certainly think that spending money is a little bit like having cancer. You kind of want to make sure you do it right the first time, because having it come back, there ain't no coming back. So when you spend your money, you better do it right the first time. So better be very certain how you do things, about how you deal with it. And you had said this gentleman had spoken about high-speed access in and out of the police station. That does happen. In an emergency, police do have to run out. If there's children there and he's not alert or she's not alert, and an officer does go out, a tragedy can occur, and it's a very dangerous tragedy. So think very carefully, long and hard, what you ask for, where you're placing that library with the children walking. We've already spoken about injuries that have happened in the past. I think we've pretty much handled it. I just want you to mention that the gentleman had spoken about the stadium. We didn't build the stadium, it was a gift. I just thought you should know that, and we maintain it. So there is money, as you've said about, the lady had spoken about funding. There may be some absolute funding available, grants that we don't know about. I think there was a gentleman, Andrew Carnegie, was kind of fond of giving money away. So yes, there is probably money out there. We may not know it, and there may be other ways to pursue it, and our township may want to look at that. So you've given me 3 minutes. I appreciate your time. I hope I've given you some things to think about that I didn't speak of before, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Blackwell.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Christopher Blackwell. I live at 28 Mill Road, about 200 feet from the library, and I'm honored to serve as president of the Board of Trustees of the library. What I'd like to do is hopefully clarify some things from tonight. First of all, Christine would be very happy to send the entire Board of Commissioners the Casaccio U concept plan and all the numbers associated with it, which incidentally were independently verified by a company called ICI that specializes in construction verification in the city of Philadelphia. Not only that, but another piece that was in the study was a library consultant. So we actually the library spent $26,000 or so on the space utilization study that was the purpose of the original expenditure of the money. We hadn't even contemplated the idea of moving. We thought that was off the table totally. So it was how to make better use of our existing facility. So that's what you'll find in there. And you will find an architectural concept of how things could be. It improves some sight lines and so on and so forth. There would, Christine would probably address this better than I, but there would be parts of the library where we still would be blind, so to speak, from a security perspective. But we have a plan, and we could make the library much more efficient just by moving things around inside of it, especially sightlines. So I just wanted to make that clear that we would do that. Also, when it's appropriate, I would be happy to address the board or anybody else about fundraising, because we know and expect that the library will be asked, very reasonably, to fundraise towards the project. And we are happy to do that. And I can enlarge upon it. I don't want to take up time now if it's not appropriate, but I would be happy to do it whenever.
But answer one question.
Yes.
If you can. With regard to your anticipated success in fundraising, you think it's easier to raise funds from the outside world and from the philanthropic world to help construct a new building or to try to renovate an old one?
It is the best case scenario is something new and exciting to make a case to donors. The one thing that I will say that donors absolutely need is certainty. They're not interested in maybe. So we have to get to a point before we can even launch a campaign properly, fully. We have to know exactly what we're selling. It has to be as positive as possible, and it has to do, frankly, it has to do with the mission, fulfilling the mission of the library going forward. It's not the building per se. The building is a means to an end. It's the mission of the library and being the very best library we can be. We're a good library right now. We could be even better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Blackwell. Anyone else? Come up. Please state your name and your address.
Bruce Campbell, 717 Lorraine Street. This has nothing to do with the library, except Friday I overheard a conversation about a township meeting. It's the first I've ever heard of the possibility that the library would move. This has to do with a little transparency. Are there transcripts of these board meetings?
Yes. They're available at the township building.
On the website, there was a list of these resolutions, the statement, but no explanations, no discussions, what the issues were. Could I find that somewhere?
Yes. On the webpage. Yeah, it's on the webpage. All of that is.
Every meeting's minutes are on the webpage.
The minutes are on the webpage?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I didn't see that. That's what I needed to know. Thank you very much.
But also DVD recordings.
Right.
There are also DVD recordings that are at the library that you can watch the DVD recordings.
And they appear on the township.
That you can go to the library and they have library.
They're also available.
Another use
We have a YouTube
of the
channel.
library.
And they're only, we have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, there's a YouTube channel also
And they're
where
all-
you can get a disc and you can watch it.
Yeah, and they're all.
Yeah, if you have access to a DVD player or just access to YouTube on your on the internet, you can see the meetings.
Yeah.
You could see the rebroadcast of the meetings.
I would have to go to the library to get a
There you go.
Oh.
And I do have some medical problems, so for me, it's literally a pain to walk for a further distance.
Do you have?
You see,
but do you have a DVD player at home? I could just arrange to get you DVDs of the meetings that you'd like to see.
Yes,
So
thank you.
we'll figure that out. 717 Lorraine.
Yes, Ardmore.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Anyone else? Sure. Yeah. You have to go to the microphone.
Could we get meetings?
After the ordinances and everything, well, Terry Lynn Duffy, 236. Oh, it's a Lizzie, I got married. I've been here so long, 236 Washington Avenue. After your ordinance are published or put on the internet, is the public going to be able to speak again?
Yes.
Once they will be able to read it? I actually did look at all the DVDs and I read all the minutes and everything. And if you think you're confused, you should be a resident attending some of these meetings. You amended, you changed the ordinances. This has been going on November, February. No wonder we're confused, and it's going to be our tax dollars. I think you should just go back yourselves and go over your meetings from August 9th of 2010, June 30th of 2011. You literally have commented that you are going to touch the ball fields. I do believe in academia. And I do believe libraries are wonderful, but I'm going to tell you, every child in this township will not just go to the library. They will go to the fields. Okay? So you state that you're going to reconfigure, you're going to acquire a parcel of land to move the ball fields. You yourselves, go back over your minutes. Go back over your CDs. Because Mr. Holmes asked at June 30th meeting, will it touch it? Did we acquire the parcel of land? Before you can actually come back to another meeting, get all the facts from your other meetings so the residents aren't as confused on the money you're going to spend. Thank you.
I do have to answer this. In 2010, a couple of people on this board said that Mitt Romney was going to win. All nine members of this board have made very clear that nobody's touching the fields at Veterans Field. That has been untouchable since we have discussed this. We talked about buying properties and moving things around and doing this stuff, and we eliminated all that. And there is no consideration by anybody on this board right now of cutting into Veterans Fields. And there's about 9 different steps we have to take between now and the day that somebody actually borrows a book from the library at the new building or visits the police in the new building. And the public will have every opportunity to talk to us when we assign contracts for bidding. They'll have 3 or 4 different opportunities anytime we try to do financing about this. So there will be tons more public input on this. But I don't know how everybody can be any clearer on this board. Nobody is touching the fields at Veterans Fields. None of us are interested in that at all.
Could I actually just, because I was on the property committee back then, Jane wasn't even on the board at that point. And when we talked about buying that parcel of land, it wasn't to touch the fields at all. It was actually to add extra fields. We were not touching the fields. We were adding extra fields. Strictly.
No
Strictly.
back and forth, please.
Strictly it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
that's it.
Bottom line, I was in the meetings, you weren't.
Can I just say, though, that is my area, and basically, I am not in agreement because of the fact I brought up there's going to be 50 or 60 more spots that you need, and Dan said it earlier tonight here, we're not buying the Wawa, and I don't think the Wawa's for sale anyway. So my question to Dan is, well, where are you going to get the land from to put these parking spaces in? And there's only one place left, and that's what Mrs. Lynn's talking about, and that's the field. So I agree with her.
Okay. All right. Anyone else would like to speak? Anyone?
One quick question.
Come up to
Come up.
Come up to the podium.
Okay, too private. Got it.
Again, Frank Breslin, 41 Brayburn. Of the visits last year in the library, the people that were, how many visits do we have?
225,000.
225,000. And were they at certain times of the day that was, like, was it mostly, are they counted? Do we have a counter in the door?
Yes.
And are these kids coming in after school?
60 kids come in after school.
60 kids? Every day. So they're counted every day for,
Monday to Friday.
so 180, 60 kids 180 times a year. And then during the summer, they're not there. Are they? That's what I just want to know. That's why I'm asking questions. I just want to. I'm trying to. Okay. But. Oh, okay. That's all I want. I'm just asking questions. I could have asked them back there, but they made me come up here. So.
Because we want it on the record.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine. But I just want to. I want to make it clear too that we all have the information that we need to share.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Mr. Breslin.
Yep.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. Connor, you don't want to come up? Okay. All right. Now, any new business?
I have one thing, Mr.
Go ahead.
Through a clerical error, we missed the second reading. I'd like to make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance number 2714, 2014. This is section amending section 175-83, Schedule 8, ordinance number 1960B, and the same is hereby amended and supplemented so as to establish a stop intersection on the following highways: on the corner of Gladstone Road where it intersects with Edmonds Avenue, creating a three-way stop. We approved the first reading of this several months ago, and it was left off last month's agenda for the second reading. So,
Okay.
Second.
Motion made and seconded.
Yeah, you
Wait,
vote.
hold on a second. We need a roll caller here.
Yeah.
You want to do it?
Commissioner D'Amelio?
Yes.
Commissioner Hall?
Yes.
Commissioner Siegel?
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes?
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
McGarity? Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Wexler?
yes.
Commissioner Heilman,
Yes.
Commissioner Oliva.
Yes. Okay, and again, that was something that was left off the agenda. We did discuss that in the work session. I'm looking at you, Gary.
It was also approved, the first reading was also approved.
Right, the first reading was also approved, so it's not, we were, okay, other business. Is there
Yeah.
anything in new business?
Oh,
Is there anything in new?
Not yet.
Well, just want to ask if Mr. Gentili could give any update to the community on potholes. I think there's a large portion of residents out there that think I'm personally responsible about these potholes. Believe me, I wish they were fixed as well. Is there any correspondence that you have had with the state, or what about the township roads themselves?
Yeah, we have very little township roads that have potholes, and our staff have already addressed 99% of them, if not all of them. Township roads: Eagle Road, Westchester Pike, Township Line, Minot Road, Earlington Road, Caracon Drive, Marple.
Any road with a double yellow line is a state highway.
Darby Road. They're all state highways, and PennDOT has actually been out numerous times. In fact, they were on Eagle Road again today, making patches. It is an enormous task. We communicate with them, Mr. Doherty and Mr. Sinibaldi. I've been on the phone with them every day. In fact, last week they were here for 2 straight. Was it last week, Mr. Connell?
Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah, Wednesday and Thursday we're here 2 complete days in Haverford Township. So they're addressing them as quick and as efficiently as they possibly can. But the task that PennDOT has is enormous. We are actually very lucky that we're getting the service that a lot of the other municipalities are not. And that has a lot to do with the working rapport that we have with PennDOT, working with the Bronx.